Good morning, scholars. I'm really excited to do an adventure with you all this week. This week, you are going to be main idea detectives. That means it's going to be your job to help me figure out what the main idea is in a few tricky texts. What is the main idea? The main idea is the big picture of the story. It's what the story is mostly about. Scholars, repeat after me. It's what the story is. Good job. Think of it like the heart of the story, helping us to understand the important messages the author wants us to learn. In order for us to understand the main idea, great detectives pay attention to a few things. First, they continuously ask themselves, what is the story about, or what am I learning about the topic? They look at all the details in the story and they pay attention to clues like the title and the pictures. Let's do some examples together. The first picture is of animals. Let me ask myself, what is this picture mostly about? I see the animals smiling at each other. They're out in nature and under the sun. They seem to be having a good time. So, the main idea of animals is that animals are having fun together in the sun and in nature. That's the main idea. That's what the picture is mostly about. Let's do another one. This picture is of colors. I see different colors that look like different shapes. Hmm. So I think that this is mostly about colors can be bright and they can be used to make different shapes and pictures. That's what the picture is mostly about. That's the main idea. In order to find the main idea, like a great detective, you have to be asking yourself, what are we learning about the topic through the pictures, the words, and the text, the title, and anything else you notice in the text? What are we mostly learning about the topic? I'm gonna model doing this with a story, then it's gonna be your turn to be detectives. First, let me put on my detective hat. Let me strap up my detective hat. All right, I think I'm ready to figure out the main idea. The story is called The Tadpole Story, From Tiny to Froggy. Tadpole. A tiny tadpole swims happily in the pond. I see a tadpole in the pond. He's smiling. He looks happy. Growing. The tadpole starts to grow legs and change. Wow, yeah, he looks a little different than the first picture. Now he has legs. He looks bigger too. Frog. A young frog sits proudly on a lily pad. All right, so I see at first he could only really swim, then he learned to stand. Now he's learning to sit. This looks like the frogs that I see in other books. Jumping. Frogs jump and play in the sunny pond. Wow, so he went from swimming along to now he can like stand and sit, and now he knows how to jump as well. Wow, okay. Great readers and detectives now stop and ask themselves, what are we learning about the topic through the pictures, the words and the text, and the title? Let me think. So the frog started off in a pond swimming. Then he learned to stand. Then he learned to sit. Now he's learning to jump and hop around. It's like he's developing and growing and becoming bigger and more mature from a tadpole to a frog. So I think the main idea is that the author's teach me about how tadpoles grow and develop into frogs. That's it. That's the main idea. Now it's your turn to figure out the main idea. First, put your detective hats on. Hat on, strap it up. There you go. And now keep your eyes on the story so you can be a detective and figure out the main idea by paying attention to the words in the text, the title, and the pictures. The Busy Bee Story. Buzzing. A tiny bee buzzes happily through the garden. I see a picture of a bee. He looks happy because he has a smile on his face. I see musical notes that represent his buzzing buzz. And I see a garden. Collecting. The bee visits bright flowers to gather sweet nectar. I see the picture of the bee sucking up the nectar from the flower. Building. Back at the hive, bees work together to make golden honey. I see all the bees working together. I see all their pots of honey. Sharing. The bees share their honey and rest after a busy day. Oh, the bees look so happy in this picture. All right, detectives. Remember, great readers and detectives ask themselves, what are we learning about the topic through the pictures, the words, the text, and the title? Your teacher is going to pass out a worksheet. You are going to use the pictures, the words, and the text and the title to write a sentence. The main idea of the story is blank. Go. Teachers, you can pause the video here so students can work. Friends, today we learned to understand the main idea. We paid attention to the details in the text, like the words, the titles, and the pictures that gave us clues to be great detectives. Every time you read a nonfiction text, ask yourself, what am I mostly learning about the topic? Good job. Give yourselves two claps, two more. I'll see you again tomorrow and we will continue to work on main idea. You may end the video here. Good job, friends. Hi, friends. Today we are going to continue to think about the main idea of text by paying attention to the details in the text. We're going to look at the clues like the pictures, the titles, and the words to help us figure out what are we learning about the topic. Today, we're going to read a story called The Clever Ant. First, we're going to put our detective hats on, strap them up tight, and keep your eyes on the text so you can pay attention to the clues. The Clever Ant story. Marching. The clever ant walks through the grass looking for food. I see the ant. He's walking through, walking through, walking through. He looks happy as he looks for food. Collecting. The ant finds crumbs and carries them back to the hill. Wow, I see the ant has some food and he's going to carry that food back. Building. The ants work together to store food for later. Oh, wow, I see a lot of ants on that hill. It looks like they're all bringing food together. Marching. Ants travel in lines, searching for food. Collecting. They find crumbs and share them carefully. I see the ants collecting all of those crumbs, marching together. Building. Together they create a safe home for all. Looks like they have their home here. Wow, what a cool story. As a great detective and reader, we're going to stop and ask ourselves, what are we learning about the topic through the pictures, the words and text, and the title? You're going to write your answer on the paper that your teacher's going to pass out to you. You're going to write, The main idea of the story is blank. Get ready, detectives. Go. Teachers, you can pause the video here. Scholars, you did an awesome job again today, stopping to ask yourself about the main idea by paying attention to the details and the clues in the text. Let's give ourselves two snaps, two more, two snaps, two more. Nice job, kiddos. Tomorrow, we're going to do this one more time. I know that you great detectives can continue to figure out the main idea by paying attention to the title, the pictures, and the text. Good job, friends. Good morning, scholars. I am so happy to see your beautiful, bright faces again. One more time, we're going to practice figuring out the main idea by paying attention to the details and the clues, like the pictures, the title, and the text. I'm excited for detectives to help me figure out the main idea of this cool new story called The Brave Butterfly Story. First, put your detective hats on. Nice job. I see those hats. Now strap them up tight. Good job. I see you strapping up. Now put your eyes on the video so you don't miss any clues. This story is called The Brave Butterfly Story. Emerging. A tiny butterfly emerges from its cocoon, ready. Oh, I see that butterfly is so happy to come out of his cocoon. Flying. The butterfly flutters through the meadow, feeling free. Wow, look at the butterfly go. He looks so happy and joyous. Look at his wings. Helping. The butterfly helps a lost ladybug find shelter. I see the butterfly holding on to the ladybug underneath the flower so that it doesn't get wet. It's helping it get shelter. Shining. The brave butterfly spreads its wings proudly. Look at the butterfly. Looks very happy and joyous. Scholars, we are going to now stop and ask ourselves, as great readers and detectives, what are we learning about the topic through the pictures, words, text, and title? You're going to write your answer on a piece of paper your teacher's going to hand out to you, just like yesterday. Your sentence is going to say, the main idea of the story is blank. Get ready, detectives. I know you're going to do a great job of taking the information and the clues that you gathered to tell about the main idea. Get ready, go. Teachers, you may pause the video here. Scholars, all week you have been working on becoming detectives, figuring out the main idea by looking at the details and the clues in the text, such as the pictures, the title, as well as the words, the text. Great job. Everyone kiss your brain. Nice job. Scholars, we're going to continue to work on figuring out the main idea. Remember, great readers, when they read nonfiction, always ask themselves, what is the text mostly teaching me about the topic? Good job, friends. I'll see you soon.